Hi, welcome to Off the Shelf with Christine and Katie. We both love a good thriller suspense story, especially in the summertime, and we wanted to share with you some of our favorite picks. We hope you like them too. Please let us know in the comments what you think about these books. If you have any others that you would like to share with us, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you will get notified of any upcoming videos as they are published.
Yes.
And this month we have a special treat. One of our co-workers, Pam, absolutely loves this genre, and so she's going to be joining us a little later with her top picks as well. But right now, shall we get to these books?
Yes.
Katie, you want to give us a start?
Sure. So the first one we want to start out with is The Poachers Sun by Paul Dorian. And it is about desperate and alone game warden Mike Bowditch, who strikes up an uneasy alliance with a retired warden pilot, and together the two men journey deep into Maine wilderness in search of a runaway fugitive, who is also Mike's father.
Dun, dun.
Yes, gets very intense.
Mm-hmm.
But then the only way for Mike to save his father is to find the real killer, which could mean putting everyone he loves in the line of fire. Mm-hmm. And we read this for the Mystery Book Club at the library, and it got a really nice discussion.
A lot of people really liked this.
Yes, and you get to see a different side of Maine outside of Stephen King taking it over.
Exactly. It was very good. Kind of kept you guessing until I got to the end, which I really liked.
Yeah, and you got to see like a different side of mystery, like more of a in the wilderness kind of a vibe. Mm-hmm. So I liked it.
It was very good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, and the next one we want to recommend is The Maid by Nita Prose. And it is about a 25-year-old maid, as you might have guessed, named Molly Gray, who has always had trouble reading social signals. She used to depend on her recently deceased grand to help her, but now she's on her own when she finds a guest murdered in the hotel bed. And to make matters worse, the police have tagged her as the most likely suspect. Mm-hmm. A Clue-like, locked-room mystery thriller. This book is in the works to become a major motion picture, and I am very excited to see it.
I can't wait to read the book as well as see the movie. From everything that I've heard from everyone who's read it,
yes,
they really do enjoy this.
A different protagonist, because you rarely get one who has trouble reading social signals and cues, and you get to see how she goes through all that. It was very enjoyable and very different from protagonists that you get. Very nice.
All right. Next we have for you, for the fans of The Guest List by Lisa Foley, she has a new book out called The Paris Apartment. Suddenly jobless, woefully penniless, and without many friends for support, Jess decides to start anew by abandoning England and heading to Paris, where half-brother Ben has grudgingly agreed to let her stay with him for a time. 2 spots. If I had to relocate to, I'd be really happy with.
You know, if I got a call from my stepbrother saying, hey, come to Paris, I wouldn't say no.
But when she arrives at his apartment, Ben has vanished. And the cold and creepy neighbors, from a socialite to an alcoholic to a troubled young woman, seem to know something they're not telling.
Dun, dun, dun.
So we have previously recommended The Guest List.
Yes.
And this one is another page turner that's full of suspects.
Oh, yes. And it all has her usual tropes, the multiple characters, and everyone has a different story. So highly recommend. It was fun.
Now, maybe you're in the mood for a psychological thriller. In that case, we have We Were Never Here by Andrea Bartz. After a backpacking trip in Chile with her best friend Kristen goes horribly wrong, Emily is forced to confront their violent past and wonders if she can outrun the secrets they share or if they will destroy her relationship, freedom, and even her life.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. So
sounds great. I haven't read it, but it sounds.
I had started reading it. It really had me on the edge of my seat. Okay. Unfortunately, I didn't finish before my library loan was due. So I am on the hold list to finish it.
Isn't it terrible though when you have to stop midway and then you're like, now I have to remember what I wrote?
I still remember it all. I can't wait.
So you can't put it down. No. Got it. Good vibes then. Okay. And the next one we want to recommend that I'm particularly looking forward to is The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. And it is about before Owen Williams disappears, he manages to smuggle a note to his beloved wife of 1 year. It simply says, protect her. Despite her confusion and fear, Hannah Hall knows exactly whom the note refers to, and it is Owen's 16-year-old daughter, Bailey. Bailey, who lost her mother tragically as a child and wants nothing to do with her. Typical.
That's what kids do.
Pretty much. And as And as Hannah's calls to Owen go unanswered, as the FBI arrests Owen's boss, as U.S. Marshal and federal agents arrive at her home unannounced, Hannah quickly realizes her husband isn't really who he said he is. Which, like most mysteries, no one is who they say they are.
Naturally.
And Bailey may just hold the key to figuring out who truly Owen is, figuring out his true identity and why he really disappeared. I'm really looking forward to this, and it's one of those mysteries where it actually has no murder. So if you are looking for something on the little bit of a murder lighter side, this is more about a theft. So I've heard that's been good for people.
A different type
yes,
of
it's a different take of mystery thriller. So looking forward to that, actually, because you always get, like, catching after the murder, and this is a little bit more of a different take.
Very nice. Now, next we have for you a new book by Rachel Hawkins, who previously wrote The Wife Upstairs, which was a modern take on Jane Eyre.
Oh, okay.
I enjoyed it. Now, she does typically do rewrites, but this one is not really based on any kind of classic. It's Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. There are aspects of various previous classics in here, so you can try to figure out if you find them.
Figure out which is which.
All right. So, seeking escape from a going nowhere job and deep family sorrow, Lux McAllister agrees with boyfriend Neil to sail two young women to an island in the South Pacific. Never mind that it has a past history of shipwrecks and bloodshed.
Only.
Of course. They're surprised to discover a yacht anchored in the bay with bright and shiny couple Jake and Eliza aboard. But you know what? Everyone bonds happily.
Sure.
Then the scary stuff begins to happen.
And I predicted that.
Yeah. It's a page-turning thriller set on a beautiful, isolated island, and it's full of dark secrets and revenge.
It does remind me of the other one we read by Lucy Foley, where they were on the island.
The island. That's the guest list.
The guest list, yes.
So, typical tropes we like.
Pretty much. Everything seems to have similar tropes these days. Okay, and we have previously recommended 8 Perfect Murders Before by Peter Swanson, and his newest title, we want to recommend the newest title to keep the suspense going. And if you like that title, please give this one a try. And it is 9 Lives by Peter Swanson. And as you probably predicted, he seems to really love list. So his next one is about 9 strangers who find their names on a list mailed anonymously. Which at this point, if I ever receive a list anonymously, I know I'm in a Peter Swanson novel. And soon bad things start happening to them. From a beloved older man's drowning at the beach to a young father's being shot while running in his quiet neighborhood, a frightening pattern is beginning to emerge, but what do these 9 people have in common? Could there be some dark secret that binds them all together? Or is this the work of a mysterious madman? As the mysterious sender stalks these 9 strangers, they find themselves constantly looking over their shoulders, wondering who will be crossed off next. And FBI agent Jessica Winslow would surely like to know, because she is also on the list.
Yes, definitely don't want to find myself on any one of these anonymous lists.
And if you're ever a killer who is sending, maybe not include an FBI agent. Just
maybe
a tip.
There's a reason.
Well, there might be, so I don't know, because I'm still reading the novel, but it is so far very interesting.
Awesome.
All right, and the next one we want to recommend is one with a very cool cover that I really like. It's called Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. And it is about a family reunion on a tidal island. Seems to be a lot of family reunions on tidal islands lately. That leads to a murder in this thriller with a nod to Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. Because you always have to mention the Queen.
Of course.
And after years of avoiding each other, the Darker family is assembling for Nana's 80th birthday in Nana's crumbling Gothic house on a tiny tidal island. Why can't this be me? This would be a great experience. I love Gothic islands.
Vacation home.
Yes, if it ever happens to me, here I'm going to a Gothic castle on the side of an island.
When you found your name on an anonymous list, don't go.
Please stop me. Because then I know I'm really in a murder mystery like Lisa Foley novel. So yes. And then when the tide comes in, they will be cut off from the rest of the world for 8 hours. Each member arrives with their own secret, and then at the stroke of midnight, because why not, as the storm rages, Nana is found dead. And an hour later, the next family member follows, and then another, and then another. And it's full of clever twists, and one surely to leave you reeling. Dun dun dun.
I loved And Then There Were None, so this is another one I'm kind of looking forward to it myself.
Well, exactly.
All right, and finally, we've come up to the one,
the only, the favorite, the beloved
Verity by Colleen Hoover. Now, this book our entire library staff is reading. We're going through it.
Yes.
And trying to determine if you're on Team A or Team B. I can't give you which it is because this one ends not knowing
really the truth.
The truth. So it's about Lowen Ashley. She's a struggling writer on the brink of financial ruin when she accepts the job offer of a lifetime. Jeremy Crawford, the husband of best-selling author Verity Crawford, has hired Lowen to complete the remaining books in a successful series his injured wife is unable to finish. It's a thriller romance. It's leaving you wondering whose truth is real. Because they do give you two stories. You get alternating views from Lowen and then Verity herself. Mm-hmm. And I think you mentioned there's going to be a special edition coming out.
Yes.
With added bonus.
Yes. In September, there's going to be a re-release of this book with a bonus chapter, which hopefully is giving us more details to who's right. And so far, I'm the only one on the opposite team. So I'm curious to see if I'm correct. But if you have to choose one book to read this summer, this is the one. This I highly recommend, and it is, like I said, it's chock full of everything. Spoilers, spoilers aside, but it has everything you might want in a
definite page turner, keeping you guessing. And
this is my first Colleen Hoover, and I highly recommend it. And I am looking forward to that bonus chapter. And like I said, it's our goal to get everyone in the library to read this, and it has been the one favorite. So if you're, like I said, if you're going to read one, it's this.
So next up, we have
a classic.
A classic. Well, a current, a more modern classic.
Yes.
Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. On the morning of his 5th wedding anniversary, Nick's wife Amy suddenly disappears. The police immediately suspect Nick because it's always the husband.
Of course, the husband did it.
Amy's friends reveal that she was afraid of him, that she kept secrets from him. He swears it isn't true. A police examination of his computer shows strange searches. He says they aren't his. Mm-hmm. And then there are the persistent calls on his mobile phone. So what really happened to Nick's wife? So if you missed this book, like I did, the first time it came around, it's one to pick up. Yes. I've had it recommended by many people, so I've added it to my TBR list for this year. And really...
Yes, and I also very highly recommend the movie. It is very well acted with... I'm forgetting the husband actor.
Ben Affleck?
Oh, with Ben Affleck, who plays the husband. Mm-hmm. He does a really good job at playing like the clueless husband in this. Mm-hmm. And honestly, we're not ahead with him, so we follow him as our main character. But it's really interesting to see him put all the pieces together. Huh. So if you kind of like a little bit of a mystery puzzle, this is the one.
All right. Now, we also wanted to include a few classic suspense thrillers. So why don't you give us your...
Here's our first one. Sure. So the first one I had to include is, of course, the classic, the best, The Strangers on a Train by Patricia Highsmith. And if you haven't read this or seen the movie, do so. It is worth your time. But it's about... Here we encounter Guy Haynes and Charles Anthony Bruno, passengers on the same train, as you could have guessed. But while Guy is a successful architect in the midst of a divorce, Bruno turns out to be a sadistic psychopath who manipulates Guy into swapping out murders with him. Exactly who I want to meet on a train, so thank you.
Now, I will say, when I read the description for this book, because I myself have not read the book, I was surprised that it was actually written back in the 1950s.
Yes.
That when I read that description of the, the sadistic psychopath.
Yes.
Although I'm a big fan of Psycho as well.
Oh, exactly. So. And speaking of that, it actually is directed by Alfred Hitchcock, and he does put his take on it, so you know for a fact it's handled by a master. But Patricia Highsmith is no stranger. She's a great mystery author, and I highly recommend you check out her other books. So
I think I am definitely going to pick up the movie to watch this summer on a nice...
You should. If you want, on a nice stormy day.
Stormy night, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yes.
And finally, we have one of Katie's favorite books, so I'm going to let her go over this one as well.
So we have done it, but I couldn't resist in doing it again, and it is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. And I highly recommend you picking up the book. The movie's okay, but if you want to check it out, I recommend the movie more because it's more suspenseful. The book more because the book is more suspenseful. But it takes place on an isolated mansion on the Cornish coast, as most of our mystery books seem to this list. And it's about the second Mrs. Maxime de Winter, as she recalls the chilly events that transpired as she began her life as the young bride of a husband that she barely knew. And for in every corner of her room were phantoms of a past gone but not forgotten, a past devotedly preserved by the sinister housekeeper, Mrs. Danvers. And with an eerie feeling of evil tightening in her heart, the second Mrs. De Winter is determined to uncover the darkest secret and shattering truths about her predecessor, Maxim's first wife, the late and hauntingly beautiful Rebecca. So I don't want to tell you any more than that because it's best if you go in blind, but it is worth your time, and there's reason why it's a classic.
So those are our picks for our favorite summer thriller, mystery, suspense novels. Now we're going to get a few picks from Pam. So Pam, what are yours?
Hi, my name is Pam. I'm one of the reference librarians here at Middletown Library. I'm helping out with Katie and Christine's project of off-the-shelf books about thrillers and suspense books. My first recommendation is the book Blood Red by Wendy Torsi Staub. She is a New York Times best-selling author, and this is the first in a terrifying new series set in a small town with a sinister secret. The razor's gleaming blade slices easily through skin and tendon, and he relishes the final anguish moments of his prey. There's only one thing he prizes more: their long, silken strands of red hair. But these women are merely stand-ins, a prelude to his ultimate victim. And who will that victim be? My second recommendation is the book She's Not There by Joy Fielding. This is a novel of psychological suspense about a woman whose life takes a shocking turn when a young girl contacts her claiming to be her daughter, who was kidnapped in Mexico many years earlier. Suspense builds as she tries to determine if this girl really is her missing daughter. Every page has surprising turns, and it's hard to put down. My third recommendation is this wonderful book by Kay Hooper entitled Haunting Rachel. Danger wears many faces. 10 years ago, Rachel Grant's fiancé, Thomas, disappeared. His body was never found. Now there's a stranger in town, a man who could be Thomas's twin, or perhaps his ghost. I hope that you've enjoyed these recommendations of my favorite suspense books. Now back to Katie and Christine.
Thanks, Pam.
All right. So we hope you enjoyed our picks, and you picked a few that you might be interested in reading or that you might have read already, and let us know how you liked them. Please be sure to join us next month, where we're going to go back to some typical traditional summer beach romances.
Yes.
So
that's the next step in the summer beach reads.
Exactly. So, and happy reading and enjoy.
Take care.
Take care.